Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone feeling out there? It's May 5th, technically, moon day, or sun nights, like 2:26 in the morning. Jupiter hour. So, Pluto just stationed retrograde yesterday on the 4th. The 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. And Pluto is in Aquarius right now, so that's pretty fitting how this particular retrograde, I feel like, will be affected, will be playing out. Aquarius is a sign of space and technology, and with all this AI controversy, business, chaos, whatever you want to call it, I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on the transhumanism, how we are teaching or feeding AI. And I consider this retrograde like machine unlearning, because for I don't know how many decades now, especially with Google had a department for X projects dedicated to machine learning, so like faster processing of making things automated, basically, so that humans can think less. And there's the controversy over this convenience that AI is offering us. It can go either way. It's like the law of polarities. There's going to be a high road and a low road, high vibration, low vibration of every aspect of every situation. And with AI, there's all of the benefits that we can potentially gain, which is solving lots of systemic problems, like healing wounds or old like literal tumors, or being able to walk, or replacing a heart. Any kind of medical advancements are definitely possible with AI. I don't know what my neighbors are fighting about. But then there's also the lower aspect of technology, which there have been warnings about the use of AI, and it can go in, it can take a turn if we are not careful with it. So I mentioned I think it was in my last video, how there's a couple of what do you call them? I don't know if you call them influencers, just people that are documenting their relationship with their AI bot, or I'm not sure what they're called. Their preferred AI thing. And the way they talk to this machine can be like a very personal, and they get comfortable with the conversation and start to, some of the shadows come out. And this is the toxicity, the patterns that humans have, that we have inherited from our ancestors, from programming, that end up being expressed. And AI is learning all of our behaviors, all of our patterns, and the nuances. And so it's really up to us to shape how we want to see the future of AI. So the way that we're speaking to it makes a huge difference. And I feel like with Pluto retrograde, we're kind of like backpedaling and just revisiting those, ways that we are affecting technology. And this is a huge, like, uprooting of behavior patterns of the collective. Like, Aquarius is the collective, like, patterns. Aquarius sees patterns and sees, like, the synapses and connections that are made between A to B and B to C, and the whole web of connections. And soon we're going to see Uranus enter Gemini, which is another air sign. So there's a lot of mental activity that is happening, and things are happening quickly. I think it's July 7th that Uranus enters Gemini. And so Uranus will be in a trine to Pluto in Aquarius. And Gemini is actually the north node of Uranus. I've mentioned before how each planet has a north and south node. just like the moon has a north and south node, which for the moon, the north node currently is in Pisces and the south node is in Virgo. And for Uranus, the north node is Gemini. When Uranus enters Gemini, the north node of Uranus will be at 15 degrees 38 minutes Gemini. And then the south node will be at 12 degrees 29 minutes Sagittarius. But July 7th, when Uranus enters Gemini, just like kind of like a cool little, I don't know, synchronicity or moment of magic, is that the moon will also be at 15 degrees Gemini, which is where the north node of Uranus is when Uranus enters Gemini. So it's like that extra emphasis on the direction that we are heading toward. So this is a very supportive energy. We are, as a collective, because the moon represents the collective, like the collective feeling, and Gemini is all about seeing what is on the other side of the coin, the different ends of the spectrum, learning. So this is, Gemini is the sign of learning, as well as, Sagittarius is more the teacher, but more, and then just reading and a lot of information available to us. And Uranus is the planet of sudden breakthroughs and epiphanies, unexpected events, aha moments. And with Uranus in a trine to Pluto, these are major breakthroughs. These are like life-altering epiphanies. And this is the first time that this has ever happened, ever. Like, not just in our lifetime, but like ever. I searched back to 800 BC and nothing came up. So I'm not sure if there's any other systems out there that is able to find the Uranus in Gemini trine Pluto in Aquarius aspect. But these are both outer planets that affect the collective. Pluto retrograde can probably have more of a subtle effect if you work in tech. If you're learning about technology or working closely with anything that has to do with technology, then you are effectively influencing or involved with or contributing to the collective advancement, because technology is intended to advance the population, advance our use of just day-to-day living. And so you could be involved with a lot of the changes that are taking place with technology, AI, whatever it might be. As far as on a personal level, Pluto is more of a generational planet, so it affects the collective, but it still deals with like deep-seated emotions and things that are in the underworld. But if we think about the underworld, the things that lay underneath have been there for decades, generations, and so this can also be connected to ancestral healing, like karmic healing. Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio, and so this is meant to really have us going very deep, like inward, and it can be very subtle. It is a source of power. Like Pluto is connected to like power struggles, wealth. There can be like what do you call them? They could be connected to inheritances and like hidden wealth that has been suppressed or somehow hidden or not available to us, or distorted. And so I feel like with Pluto retrograde, there's going to also be a lot of secrets revealed about how the financial system has been operating. Like plutocracies, plutocracy is the systems that are in control, being in control because they have the wealth, because they have access to these hidden crystals or gems or fine metals, gold, silver, copper, rubies. The people that have, or the families, or these systems that have access to these precious metals hold the power. And so I feel like with Pluto retrograde in the sign of Aquarius, this is like even with our phones and probably a lot of different kind of technologies that we take for granted today. A lot of the things that make up this particular technology, maybe the lamps, or it could be our watches, precious metals that are used to build these instruments have been extracted from the earth without consent, like without replacing it, without any reverence, just like stealing these resources as if we have the right to, and then selling it for money, for greedy means. So with this exposure, hopefully there will also be those out there that will find solutions to replace those precious metals or whatever it might be that have been extracted, and maybe rather than extracting these precious metals from the earth, we can come up with new ideas or new forms, new ways we have never thought of before, which I think that's where Uranus and Gemini is going to come in handy. No pun intended, because Gemini rules the hands. But yeah, these new technologies can definitely come about with this aspect between Uranus and Pluto. Yeah, we have to really keep the focus on like what is to come. Like, yes, things are coming to the surface that are unsavory, but they're coming up to the surface for us to be aware of and witness and work through, so that we can just understand what we're dealing with. We can't just gloss over things and go around it to avoid the icky feeling. These are meant for us to pay attention to, so that we can take a look at what can be retained, what are the good things that have come from these, whatever you want to call them, lessons, and what needs to go, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be returned or resolved, just recovered, So yeah, this retrograde, connecting it to the machine unlearning, we extracted so many things from the earth in order to feed this machine, however that machine might look like in our day-to-day life, whether that's the machine of Alexa or Siri or Grok, or whatever technology that you've been using. And then come August of this year, that will be when Uranus and Pluto trine. And then as we move closer to the end of October of this year of 2025, Neptune will also be retrograde in Aries, and it'll move back into Pisces, back into like the later degrees. I think it goes back from 2 degrees Aries back to 29 degrees Pisces. So July 4th is when Neptune retrogrades, and it'll go back into Pisces. So Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, and so in late October we will have a lot of planets in their domicile, so they'll be in their own home. The moon is going to be in Cancer along with Jupiter, which Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. Venus will be in Libra. This is going to be like towards the end of October, I think around October 22nd. Mars is going to be in Scorpio. And so we're going to have all these supportive planets that will allow us to really accept the change and make those decisions. I mean, there's going to be a lot of planets retrograde during that time, but this will allow us to really slow down and like review and reflect on the changes that are taking place. So yeah, it'll be the outer planets that will be retrograde. Saturn will be retrograde in Saturn will be retrograde in Pisces in a trine to Jupiter. So that's a nice change of energy, especially when we've had Saturn Jupiter squares for like the past, I feel like 5 years. So yeah, in water signs, so we'll have this intuitive understanding of how these changes are taking place, and Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces, and so we are being directed and like supported in our emotional endeavors. Like the way we feel about our future is being supported. And then yeah, late October it'll be Scorpio season, and then the moon, we'll have a new moon in Scorpio. But yeah, that's not to get too far ahead, but yeah, these are things to be excited about. So hopefully the pressure or the tension has kind of let up a little bit since the new moon in Taurus that we had on, was that the 27th of April? And our next, the full moon in Scorpio will be on the 12th at 22 degrees. So the 12th, got a little bit of time. But yeah, until then, it is the 5th now. So Mercury enters Taurus on the 10th, which will be a nice, relaxing, kind of sweeter style of communication, which will balance out the Mercury in Aries, more direct, and Aries can have like a lack of regard for feelings. So Taurus takes more time to think about how it will affect the other person. Just like Taurus likes those good vibes. But yeah, pretty, for the most part, I mean, Mercury will be in a conjunction to Chiron in Aries on the 7th of May, so in a couple days. I don't know when this is going to actually be posted, but Mercury in Aries conjunct Chiron in Aries, as well as Eris, E-R-I-S, the, what was she? Goddess of chaos and discord. Will be an expression of the wounds that we have been carrying and the accusations, possibly. And I feel like Eris is that energy of calling people out and exposing their shadow sides. And there's a lot of that going on. Whether that's, canceling people out, and just like speaking our truth, like it's a lot more accepted, encouraged. So there's ways to also speak your truth that's done with compassion. And then another energy that I kind of just noticed that's happening currently is Uranus at 26 degrees Taurus, which is where Algol is, in an opposition to Juno in Scorpio retrograde. And Juno is that asteroid of partnerships, connected to marriage, but it doesn't have to be marriage. It can be like collaborations, relationships where each person has roles that they understand and have responsibilities toward. And so there's this opposition to Uranus, where Uranus wants to be free and not be tied down, wants to liberate. So there can be this feeling of distance with the people that you have this partnership with. So it's definitely nothing to be taken personally. Like everybody is feeling this collective need for space. We've been absorbing a lot of frequency adjustments over the past who knows how long. And even if we may not be directly involved, this is energy that is in us. This is energy that is connected to our ancestors, regardless of who your ancestors were, whether they are Israeli or Palestinian or Chinese or Taiwanese or black or white. Everybody is affected. There is nobody immune to this energy. And the North Node in Pisces is with Saturn as well, is that energy of, that discipline to emotionally regulate. There's this feeling of just kind of feeling off. Yeah. Connected from your sense of purpose, your nervous system is on this kind of roller coaster ride. It is understandable. That's, I would say normal. Taking the time to rest and listen to your body. So, and all those good things. Hydrate. If you have a cat, I'm so grateful for my Vesta, just holding him, just hugs. I think that's all. I think cats have like a frequency of 9, like a really low frequency that's very healing for our bodies if we have them, if we hold them close. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. And oh yeah, we had Venus conjunct Neptune a few days ago, which I don't know about you, but it's been a mixed bag. You know, there's again that law of polarity. It can be very creative, very dreamy, kind of sleepy as well. In the sign of Aries, what I've been finding is that things are going missing, or they're just straight up being stolen. Like today, I had another bicycle stolen like within 3 minutes at the farmer's market. And I mean, it's a beater bike. You know, I've had this bike for, gosh, 13 years. You know, it's like a hybrid bike, nothing fancy at all. But yeah, I stopped by the farmer's market to talk to one of the vendors, and I turned around 3 minutes later and it just vanished. And Neptune is the energy of deception, illusions, mystery, and Venus is, you know, what we value. In the sign of Aries, Venus in Aries, I feel like, you know, that was my way of just getting away. Like, I mean, it is connected to Mercury because it is a bicycle, it is transportation, but that was my source of, you know, just like hopping on my bike and going. So that's also connected to Aries. I don't know if there's any other astrologers that may be watching this, then I'd be open to hear how that incident might have played out. It happened at 4:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 4th. So 5:40, 4:45 or so. Anyway, but yeah, I hope Venus and Neptune has been treating you well, and Pluto will be retrograde until October 13th. And though it might not affect us super directly like Mercury tends to throw a wrench in our plans, like things can go awry, but Pluto is very subtle but very, very impactful, transformative, of course. The next retrograde will be July 13th, when Saturn retrogrades in Aries, but then goes back into Pisces, back to 25 degrees Pisces. Again, right on my Sun and Mercury. So, yeah. So we have a good, besides Pluto, we have a good month and a half or so to take advantage of these direct planets. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do my best at, is get this ball rolling with the plans that I have set forth, that I have envisioned for myself, despite any distractions or curveballs. Yeah, all of these planets in Aries is encouraging us to go forth, trial and error, effective. Anything that falls through is meant to teach us a lesson, so that's something to that's a perspective to keep in mind. You know, it's all trial and error right now. A lot of around May 17th, 18th, Jupiter and Gemini will square the North and South Node in Pisces and Virgo. So our belief systems, a lot of opportunities, information for sure can bring us to a choice point. I mean, this is a crossroads that we will be met with, and Jupiter is the ruler of our North Node. So this is a time to really access our inner compass to help guide us for those directions. Oh, look who it is. Look who it is. Alright, so hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that helps. And yeah, this should be a little more mellow week, since we've kind of The squares have kind of separated a bit. I mean, the moon currently is in Leo right now, making a square to Uranus and Juno. And then if you have any Aquarius placements, this is creating a T-square. But we just had our first quarter moon, which is, the moon being in Leo and the sun being in Taurus. That creates that crisis and action point where you realize, like, oh shoot, like this something's got to change. There's a lot of things coming up that are about to be shaken, dismantled, because now the moon is squaring Uranus. So that could have been it too, like the moon in Leo squaring Uranus and Taurus. Taurus is connected to belongings. So, alright. Stay grounded, stay centered, stay hydrated. And thank you so much again for sticking around. Hope to see you on the next one. Till then, take all the best care.